we have a nice blend here of some newer people to their roles to give you a window into that world, as well as some really terrific experience. So I'm just going to ask for us, Kyra, if you just start, just if you could introduce yourself and what company you're with and what's your current role.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kyra Adrian, and I work for Savant Wealth Management as an associate advisor up in Madison, Wisconsin.
I'm Bennett Wessley. I also work at Savant Wealth Management as an associate advisor in Madison.
I'm Sean Wayne. Welcome, everyone. And I am with Sky's Edge Wealth. I'm the co-founder, along with my partner, Christy Reed. So I'm a private wealth advisor, CFP, and the CFO of the firm.
My name is Matt Miller, along with Sean at Sky's Edge Wealth, financial advisor and CFP over there as well.
Hi, everyone. Marissa Slowik, Johnson Financial Group in Milwaukee, and I'm an associate wealth advisor.
My name is Mark Gmach. I work for Annex Wealth Management. I work out of the Brookfield office. We have 8 locations overall. I am the Chief Growth Officer. If you want to know what that means, feel free to ask me later. I'll explain that. Okay, briefly, I'll explain that. So as a Chief Growth Officer, firm growth plans and goals, strategic partnerships, relationships and initiatives, business development, and strategic key high net worth relationships are all the things that I focus on.
I'm Kevin Trecek. I am an associate wealth manager at Annex Wealth Management, and I am based out of the Elm Grove office.
Okay, excellent. So you heard the term associate wealth manager, right? So obviously Sean and Mark have just this different level of experience, deal with different levels of clients. But we want to get into what is this role and begin to uncover that a little bit. And so Kyra, I'm going to start with you, and then Bennett, anything you want to add, if there's something you want to add, if she's covered it, you can just say pass, and then Matt, I'm going to go to you, Melissa, you, and Kevin, I'm going to go to you. So Kyra, why don't you start out?
Yeah, so I really view my role as an associate as just a huge learning opportunity. So getting to sit in on meetings and take notes, getting to do meeting prep with other advisors, really just asking questions so that I can grow as an advisor, learn as much as I can about our company, our processes with financial planning, and start to get to know our clients and start kind of building those client relationships.
Anything you'd add, Bennett?
Not really. I think you did a great job explaining it.
Thank you, Bennett.
I think another good thing, at least at our firm, is they give us some time to study for different exams. I did graduate here from Whitewater, and I did the CFP course with Mark and Gene and a few other professors in here. And so I'll be sitting for my CFP soon, and being able to study a little bit while at the office is definitely a nice balance.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, Matt, how is your role different or the same? I know yours has evolved. Sean continues to give me updates whenever we see each other.
Yeah, it's certainly evolved from where I started. So I started as an intern here, and actually I met Sean first ever finance fair. So great event that's being hosted. But yeah, I'm more so a lead advisor on the clients we're working with, allowing Sean to continue to work with business partners and the more complex clients. Obviously, he needs capacity. So a lot of the clients that potentially don't need all that complexity, I'm helping service. I'm the lead on that. But obviously, as complex cases come up, Sean and I, along with other partners, kind of take a joint role on those clients.
Excellent. So getting experience along the way. Marissa, what would you add?
Yeah, so I think the associate part really is just the pathway to becoming a wealth advisor. So everything that Kyra said, I'm doing the same in hopes to have my own client book one day. So kind of like an internship where it allows you to make sure that you're on the right path of what you're passionate about. That's kind of where I'm at as well in my role.
So Marissa, in your particular case, you said you're doing this. Is that what when you graduated from Whitewater, is that the role you went into right away, or is there a role between?
Yeah, so there was a role between. So fortunately, I was able to get an internship at Johnson Financial Group as a financial planning intern. So that just led me to make sure that I was passionate about this subject. And then I went ahead and did a paraplanner role, which really focused on helping advisors capture client story and gather their information and use the planning software to create and develop their financial plan and their financial recommendations.
Excellent. Thank you. Kevin, anything you want to add to the associate financial role?
Sure. I mean, going along those same lines, it's a client-facing role. You know, my role specifically, whether that's me leading client meetings on the Ignite side or sitting in on client meetings on the full service side, you're there taking notes, and like everyone else said, you're a sponge. You're learning. You're working on your CFP to move up to the next level.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. Mark, talk a little bit more about, this segmentation, right? I mean, strategically in Annex, in your organization, what are some of the different roles that exist and how are they kind of segmented?
I'll take that from the client-facing aspect first.
Absolutely.
And talk about the perspective of an associate wealth manager. So at Annex, we'll take people through 3 progressions of that. We have wealth manager assistants, associate wealth managers, and wealth managers. And at the assistant level, you would be brand new people coming just directly out of school. Your focus there would be administrative support, learning what has been done and digesting that and passing it to a wealth manager for preparation. As you progress then to associate wealth manager, you're along the lines of some licensing and some credentialing. So you've passed your CFP, for example. You've got the requisite licensing to be involved in delivering advice to client meetings. So your prep will progress to a point where you're going to be intimately involved with what advice are we going to deliver to this client. But the associate tag would essentially mean you need to do this in a way you're associated with a senior wealth manager.
Okay.
Right? And then into the wealth manager role. So that, it gives you a good perspective
associated
of how
with
that
a advanced or senior advisor, somebody that's more experienced, kind of learning the ropes, being extra bandwidth and really just developing. Is that a fair description?
Right, I would say, right, in a way that we would say you're being supported
Got
as
it.
the associate wealth manager.
Got it.
And I'll give you another quick, side note to that in terms of a different perspective also, because that's the client-facing track. But also at Annex, we have financial planners. Financial planners are not client-facing. They are more analytical. They love to spend their time on projections, running complex software, developing scenarios, vetting data, those kinds of things. So they're very focused into that realm, but they maybe don't love the client interaction. They don't want to be responsible for delivering that advice or the relationship with the client, right? So there are different paths that are in the same industry.
Excellent. Excellent. Merissa, what would you add to that? Again, the segmentation of clients that you have at Johnson's Financial Group, Johnson Wealth Management.
Yeah, so I think that having a pathway allows you to figure out the ropes of if you do want to become client-facing or not. I would say, just to add on, financial planning has an art and a science.
Yeah.
The science is that problem solving, that analyzing, that's what you have a characteristic of. You're a problem solver, but you also have the art of handling relationships and maintaining trust with your clients. So there's an art and a science when it comes to financial planning.
Excellent. Thank you. Sean, talk a little bit about Sky Edge Wealth and how you segment things. I know you and Christy have talked to a number of our classes. Just talk a little bit about that.
Well, we definitely confirmed we're all on the right panel. We're all playing from the same playbook here.
Yes.
For sure. So this is good to kind of walk through some of the industry jargon, I'll call it, which can be confusing. So a lot of the same pathways. Someone coming out of college would start in the financial planning department. Depending on the path, if you want to be client-facing, we could start going into the associate advisor role and ultimately the advisor, or working with a lot of complex clients, and financial planning is core to who we are, staying in that path as well if client-facing isn't something that's interesting to you. So the only really thing I'll add along that is what I was asked, I think Grant asked when I was talking out there is, what is the role of bringing in new clients? That's the only thing I haven't really heard about so far.
Yeah,
And
please.
so I'm guessing pretty consistent there as well. We do not ask our new associate advisors 1, 2, 5 years out of college to be bringing in the new clients. To turn over your entire wealth to a new person right out of college, maybe a little bit too much. We believe that as the partners, the people with 20, 25 years in the business, that is our goal. We are the rainmakers. And so as those clients come in and are referred to us, then we're determining who is the best fit within the firm based on the complexity.
Excellent. Is it similar in your firm, Mark, or different?
I would say Both, really.
Okay.
So we have two channels of new client acquisition at Annex. There, we do a lot of branding, marketing, advertising, credibility building. You would hear us on talk radio shows, for example. We do podcasts, a lot of those. We do e-newsletters, digital marketing, black ops type stuff
Yes.
inside the internet world that I don't even understand.
I like that. Black ops.
Exactly. And then, of course, business development, relationship building, and that's our senior wealth managers that are focused in that space, and I lead those, of course. And I'll talk a little bit. So I mentioned assistants to associates to wealth managers, but I want to give some perspective on that from a client aspect also, because client segmentation is also important.
Yes.
And wealth managers will go down a different path and work through the progression of their career in terms of complexity of client relationships. We label these things at Annex. It's branded, so we call it Annex Ignite, Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client. So maybe if you're in your 20s and 30s, what you need is more directional financial planning. Am I going the right way? Am I using my employee benefits properly? And that's the Ignite team. Ignite, light the fire,
Yes.
right? Annex Comprehensive Wealth, we're maybe in our 50s, heading into the 60s. We've built some financial security, and we're thinking about, are we doing the things right? Am I going to get to retirement someday? Can I be more tax efficient to do that? And then Annex Private Client, high net worth. This is more complex estate and charitable philanthropic needs and desires, more complex investment portfolios. And wealth managers will find their way throughout that spectrum as well. And at some point in their career, they'll land in the one that resonates best with them, and also at the level of achievement that they want to rise to.
Excellent. So definite market segmentation as well as client segmentation, and the opportunity to grow and expand in different areas to your level of interest. So
Right. Yeah, I think that's the key to it. The opportunity to take the career as far as you want to.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. Kyra, we were having a discussion earlier, and Bennett, you may want to add to this as well. We started talking about clients or groups, and at Savant, you're in Middleton for your office, and Bennett, you're in Madison. And Kyra, I just wanted you to talk a little bit about the focus of your practice in Middleton.
Yeah, so the Middleton office is called our university division of Savant. So we found our niche in working with university professionals. So the vast majority of our clients, either one or both spouses, work for universities. So as professors, researchers, physicians. So that's kind of where we've delved in. So that provides the unique opportunity where, the financial planning is the same. They're still people, they still have the same needs, they still want to retire. But just to learn more about the university benefit plans and the unique cases that come along with that is what we really specialize in.
Thank you. Bennett, anything you'd add for your office in Madison?
Yeah, I'd say us in Madison, we're a little bit more traditional. Like I think maybe a few others up here on the panel. We'll take, typically it's a couple, maybe their kids will come out as well, depending on the ages, and at a certain level of wealth. We focus a lot on tax planning for them, obviously financial planning. I think everybody up here does financial planning. A lot of us up here will do long-term cash flow for retirement. But yeah, it's mostly just families.
Families in your particular office. Sean, talk a little bit about who you serve. And Matt, feel free to add. Like I know you mentioned you're recently starting to add clients personally, I think is what you said. So some of your focus as well. So Sean, who do you serve?
Yeah, I'll start just a little bit higher level, but this really is core to who we are, kind of the first thing. If it resonates with a potential new client, then I think we can continue on the conversation. And that is people that are looking to delegate this portion of their lives so they can focus on the most important things in their lives. And that may sound really silly, but it's not a number, it's not a complexity, but it's really important. Someone that comes in with a lot of money, but they want to give us a portion of it, don't see the value in financial planning and tax planning and estate planning because they just want to focus on rate of return, I can tell you right now that we're not going to be a good fit. We are going to be responsible for your future and your financial legacy and financial independence. We're going to be managing all the assets, and then we're going to be responsible for the financial planning and working with your CPA and with your estate planning. So with that said, then typically we're working with clients that are 3 to 5 years from retirement or in retirement, it's pretty natural there that's where the most complexity is. The other subset is business owners. About 25% of my clients are business owners, or again, individuals with complex options and benefits packages.
Thank you. Matt, what would you add?
Yeah, what I'll add is we're a comprehensive planning firm at the core. So I know investments is a super important piece of retirement planning and all kind of things in between, but quite honestly, we're not diving into investments until we build that financial plan, because I want to understand what your trajectory is looking like, what your goals are. Are there gifting goals we need to consider? Those are all different things. What are the tax implications that we need to understand before even talking about investments? So many in our initial consultations meetings, they're like talking about investments right away. And first thing I say is, there's going to be more questions from us this meeting than answers, because we want to understand who you are truly, other than the dollar sign, right? Who are you as a person? Because risk tolerance, and I think the year 2022 shows that exactly, right? You had an up market, and last year was a different year. Truly understanding their thoughts around money and how they can react to adverse scenarios is very important. So before we even talk about investments, comprehensive planning, like Sean said, step A to Z is where we focus our time.
So that's kind of what you say. This is what we're going to do, right? And this is how we're going to do it. Marissa, would you please kind of take the mystery out of the process, and then we'll have anyone feel free to add to that. Okay, if your firm is calling on me or somebody that may be more attractive as a client, but if your firm is calling on somebody, what does the engagement look like? Take the mystery out of it for us.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stigma around what a financial plan is. And I think that a lot of people still think it's sales orientated and numbers orientated. But at Johnson Financial Group, it's very conversation orientated. A lot of people on the panel talked about life stages and how you have to start and understand what cycle they're in of their life. To be able to understand their goals, and especially those clients that are very close to retirement. You have to have those hard conversations about what retirement looks like. You have 8 hours of your day that was taken up by a job that now you have free time. And so when we're making assumptions and entering things into a plan for them, it's hard because, again, it's assumptions. And so we kind of say garbage in, garbage out. So we don't want to add garbage into a plan and give bad advice. So we always start with those deep conversations. And there's 2 or 3 meetings before even financials come into play. We're gaining that trust right away. And then just a little bit more about the structure is Johnson Financial Group started as a bank. So a lot of our bank clients then come to us for the wealth side and the financial planning aspect.
Thank you for that. Mark, do you want to add anything? Sean, anyone else want to add anything about the process or the engagement, taking the mystery? Feel free to add. I'm not going to go to each of you, but feel free if you had something you want to share.
The one thing I would add to that is the tools that are involved. So complex financial planning software systems are at the heart of that. So the conversation about, who you are and what you want to do and where you're headed. And then there's data, what's your income look like, and, what do you have saved up so far? And then there's sort of the tools, the benefits package you might have available to you at work. And I'm speaking maybe to someone in accumulation stage. So you'd be in accumulation, you'd be in distribution, or you'd be in legacy planning if you think about your life cycle. But all along the way, we have these great tools. And so using the tools to do the scenario analysis and projections, but then also using those tools to communicate that to the clients. There's great visuals that come along with it. You kind of do some if-then scenario planning. Hey, if we do something a little bit differently, here's the path that you'd be on, and help people understand the impact of the decisions that they're making right now into the future, many, many years down the road, for example. And if you retire and you're 60 years old, we're really hoping you're going to be here when you're 90. So that's still a 30-year projection.
Yeah.
So these are really fun tools, and it's how you bring all this education together and put the personality, the people that you're serving, and what you've learned all kind of to use.
I'm glad you mentioned that. And Sean, I know you'd like to probably speak to this as well. When you meet with somebody, they're busy with life, and you can be the greatest doctor, the greatest business owner, the greatest in your particular field, but we all have to deal with personal finance. And with that said, a lot of people don't have time. So really, the financial planner, advisor says, time out from your day-to-day activities in life, and let me ask you quantitative questions, qualitative questions. And then, Mark, you kind of hit on it, right? It's put into software. And I just would like you to add, and then Sean, I'm going to go to you, like you to add, what's it like for the client to see the output after hearing, sharing their life story, sharing all their numbers? What happens to that relationship at that point?
Well, there's an age-old saying that we use in this business that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So let that sink in for a minute. And when you bring those things together and you're bringing that knowledge and that projection, you're showing them the path they're on and helping them improve that path. For a lot of people, there's sort of this moment where the financial anxieties start to fade away and they switch from am I okay to can I do? And they switch their minds over to what that really might look like and, live every day like it's Saturday. And I want a nice, comfortable retirement lifestyle. I never want to be a financial burden to somebody. And maybe I want to do something to help my kids or my grandkids or my favorite charities along the way. And that's where it really switches their brains to that focus.
They see that output and it's powerful. Sean, what would you add?
Yeah, that was perfect, Mark. And so clarity and confidence, right? They come in, they have questions or they wouldn't be coming in.
Right.
And the most rewarding for me, I'll kind of pivot there too,
please.
is a client that comes in that has a financial advisor, has a whole bunch of money. And this happens more than you believe, of saying our advisor says we're good, we can retire. And I don't know what that is for, that they haven't really done the work or they have a big 401k that will roll over once they retire. But the client or potential client is not confident. And that's a weird deal. The advisor's telling them, but they're not confident. And what's missing typically is a comprehensive plan that actually is their numbers, not something generic off of the magazine that says the average person needs X. They want it to be their numbers. And so when you start asking questions of, well, what are you using for a medical assumption in retirement? Number one concern for every single client, and they haven't talked about it. That's where what Mark was saying is where you go from, then when you get the output, then you have confidence. And it may not be confidence that they're on track, but it's clarity that they're not. We're not here to deliver the message that everyone is good to go. It's just the clarity of if these are the assumptions that really mean something to you and that's the lifestyle that you wanted, then you're not there yet. And it's okay to say you need to go a couple more years to get to that point. So that's my answer about that. That's definitely the most rewarding piece of our profession.
No question.
The other question about, I'll go with the planning process. We hit on all those pieces.
Yeah.
Something really important to us, and again, rewarding, is when you're bringing the other professionals in their lives into the process. So when we asked the question early on, you've got a complex situation. Have you ever had the three professionals, the financial planner, the accountant, and the attorney in the same room at the same time? And that's a frustration for most busy, successful people. My accountants tell me to do X. They won't talk to my advisor. My advisor's telling me to do Y, and I do not want to put a client in that position. Let's all come together. Let's sit in the same room. But you need to be confident about what you know about being a CPA, even though we're not a CPA, but a CFP, as you know, goes through that. And we don't need to be the subject matter expert, but we're the ones that know the client the best. I'll promise you that, over the CPA or the attorney. So that's probably a little other piece about the process of the financial planning.
Excellent. Thank you, Sean. Merissa, anything you'd add from your company's perspective to that? Otherwise, I'm going to ask you, how is the CFP viewed in your company and your industry?
Yeah, I'll definitely touch on the CFP aspect. Okay. It's not a requirement at Johnson Financial Group to be a advisor with a CFP. I just wanted to let everyone know that. But of course, Johnson encourages continuous learning. So the CFP has their steps to how a financial planning process is supposed to go. But sometimes it takes the personality out of an advisor, and you build those client relationships because of your personality. So as much as we do follow the steps of gathering data, understanding the client, analyzing their current situation, monitoring, giving financial recommendations, all of that, you want to make sure that we're always providing the personalized experience because every client is different. And like Sean mentioned, they are coming to us for specific questions. But as the relationship grows and continues, you're going to have loyalty to them. And hopefully in return, they're going to have loyalty to you and the company. So there's going to be more questions that comes up throughout the client lifetime.
It's a multiple year relationship, years and years and years. Matt, is the CFP something you're thinking about? And I know you went through the curriculum. Is it something you're thinking about? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so actually became a CFP earlier this March.
Congratulations. Let's give him a round of applause, everyone. Well done.
And I was talking with Mason over here, and he's going for a financial planning or finance degree. And we were kind of just talking a couple months ago, and he's in the finance field, and I mentioned the pathway that Whitewater has that you and Gene talked about before. And had I not taken the financial planning route, which actually wasn't my original thing, I was just going to do finance as a whole because I wanted a little bit of real estate, a little bit of financial planning. I would have had 4 or 5 more exams, I believe, before I could actually sit for the CFP exam. So I'm extremely grateful for what Whitewater offered. And it does mean a lot to me. Obviously, it's 3-4 months of pretty much nothing but work and study. But not only does it give you confidence, but I believe it gives the clients confidence as well. Because I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? As a 23-year-old in the industry, you're going against people with 20, 30 years of experience, right? That gives them a little bit more confidence along with the team approach we have at Skies Edge Wealth. That's why I can go into a meeting and feel good about the recommendations I'm recommending. But it is just awesome to have. It's not a requirement at Skies Edge Wealth either, but it's something you'll probably end up getting if you work with our firm. So very grateful for the opportunity here at Whitewater. I'm glad I got it now because I don't want to be studying that much when I'm 40, 50 years old. But again, I think just from the client's perspective, it just offers a lot of confidence as well as yourself. So
Thanks, Matt. Anything you want to add, Kevin or Mark? Kevin, is it something on your radar screen?
Absolutely.
Kevin just finished, 2 years ago with us, right?
Yep, I graduated in 2021.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the CFP, that's kind of the Cadillac of designations to get in our industry. Not required at Annex. We all have our 65 to be an associate
advisor.
wealth manager. Obviously, there's a series of exams you can take just to legally be able to do what we do. But Annex kind of sees that as the next step. So, you either have 2 things, your CFP or experience. So to make that next step, I'm going to start studying for the CFP this winter because it's going to be cold outside. So might as well just do it in winter. But it's gonna take about a year. And I'm kind of kicking myself now. I didn't take advantage of it here with the classes offered. So definitely look into that if you haven't already.
Thanks, Kevin. Bennett and Kyra, Mark, you want to say something? Feel free.
Yeah, I was going to jump in on that, maybe raise the stakes a little bit, even on the CFP program that is available here. That's a tremendous opportunity. If you want to be a financial planner or a wealth manager, make sure you're in that program.
Or wealth manager.
They're not the same. If you want to be a financial planner or a wealth manager, be in that program, graduate from UW-Whitewater, ready to take the CFP exam. It's a tremendous opportunity for you. As a senior leader, hiring decisions are a big part of what I do. And yes, we do have people who come into our industry who are not CFPs, but I can tell you that the hurdle to advancement is much steeper. The hurdle to being hired, you would need to prove domain knowledge. And if you have the CFP, I already know you have domain knowledge, right? So it's very important.
Thank you, Mark. Bennett, anything you'd add?
Yeah, so similar to the other 2 recent grads up here, I also went through the Whitewater CFP program. And at Savant Wealth Management, it is a requirement actually to pass your CFP within the first 2 years, which is part of the reason I really was happy to kind of find myself at Savant. I think continuing education is very important in our industry as regulations are always changing. When I sit for the CFP in March, I will be an expert for 2024, and then I'll have to start back over. Unfortunately, kind of the way it goes. But I am very happy that I don't have to go through all the coursework, and I was able to get it done in my undergrad. So if any of you guys are kind of on the fence, I mean, I was on the fence, actually. I sat down with Gene my sophomore year of college, and I was always finance, but I was more the real estate route. And I'm like, okay, Dr. Tobiak, what do you kind of think I should do here? And we kind of did the pros and cons back and forth between them. And I thought just being able to sit for that CFP, which is, as it was said, the kind of the Cadillac of designations. It kind of hits the big areas within financial planning is in a holistic way. And I guess my message to all of you is if any of you are on the fence about financial planning, definitely do the CFP approved route because you will thank yourself later.
Kyra, anything to add? Because I know you went to Madison and went through the same CFP approved program. What would you add?
Yeah, I would just echo that it's definitely a huge benefit to get that education component of the CFP done in your undergrad. You're already taking classes anyways. I'll also be able to sit for the exam hopefully in March, whereas I have other coworkers who are now having to take those classes and coursework before they can even start studying for the exam. Just another thing about Savant and any company that you are looking at as you graduate is I think it's very important that a company does support you and wants you to continue your education, whether that's with series exams, licensing, or the CFP. To me, that's a huge green flag if your company wants to support you in your growth and your education and wants you to be licensed in some way.
That was interesting, Kyra. A green flag versus a red flag. I like that. I'm going to have to use that. I've always used the red flag. You just expanded my knowledge. Go ahead.
Really brief.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
'Cause I'm on the other side. The program did not exist when I graduated here.
Me either.
So I got to do the 6 individual exams and then sit for the final. I have the scars to prove it. And I made the mistake of waiting till after I had got a couple of individual exams and had my first child and then said, holy cow, how am I going to get this done? So please, if you're interested, I'll go through that program. And then I'll see if Mark will agree with me on this one. As an employer, I've got 2 candidates, kind of like we were sharing. One has been through the curriculum, whether you've sat for it or not. You've shown me that this is probably the industry that you want to be in, which means a lot to us as employers.
Marissa, thank you, Sean.
Yeah, I also, I graduated in 2019, so the program wasn't solidified. So I am going through the CFP right now through the American College, and it is like a 2 to 3 years. So it's basically like getting a master's degree or a graduate degree just to complete those courses. It's 10 weeks per course, and then you have to pass the exam. So in total, you have to pass like 7 or 8 exams. So definitely, I just wanted to say that because it takes a lot of time. And if you can do this in school, learning from professors where you can, are in person, definitely take advantage of it.
Marissa, I'm confident you're going to get it done.
It's
You'll get it
a lot, but yes, especially like everyone on the panel has been saying, when you're with a company that provides you those growth opportunities. Exactly.
All right. Matt, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, so I'll share from personal experience. When I came to Whitewater as a transfer, and like 3 months in, there was like a career fair that I went to. And like I said, at first I was like, I want to learn everything in finance, real estate, everything. So I didn't have the financial planning designation chosen at that point as my career. I literally had an internship at a financial planning firm say they weren't interested because I haven't shown that. Because I haven't shown that's my true interest. So just having that passion and going down that route again. If this truly is, it was like an extra class I had to take. But at that point, I didn't know where I wanted my career to go. But again, I eliminated one potential opportunity at that time. You have hundreds of kids here, so many more that didn't come today. How are you going to separate yourself? It is the gold standard, but I do, like Mark said, think it's becoming more of the baseline for employers going forward. So can't recommend it enough.
Thank you, Matt. Mo, do we have time to open it up to the group for a few questions? Okay. Who has a question for the panel? Mason does.
I'll take it, and you can fact check me. So we're pretty conservative in regards to Social Security, and we base it on the age of the client. So the further you are away, we're going to be more conservative on how much we're going to build into your plan. So maybe 50% of the promise that they have for a 50-year-old. Matt would know the numbers better than I do of exactly what our assumptions are, but you've got the concept there. As we get closer, we feel more confident that the government's not going to come into a 60-year-old and magically or significantly impact their benefit. But most importantly, it's a really good conversation. So 50%, then 75%, and then full on that will, if you're a year from retirement, we don't think they're going to be impacted. The next thing I'll say is Social Security surplus is set to run out. That doesn't mean Social Security is gone. And I've seen a lot of nods. You're way more educated than a lot of 50-year-olds out there. So it's interesting when you're talking to them. So it's just making sure you separate the media from what's really happening. And so the amount of money that's being paid in right now by everybody on this panel is enough to pay, I think, 78 to 82% of the Social Security benefits that are being paid today. So that's the information we want to share with them.
Yeah, I think that's great perspective. We follow the same modeling process with clients. The younger you are, the less we're going to rely on Social Security benefits. Personal opinion, Social Security is one of the easiest problems that we have to solve in this nation for our government. It's essentially a math problem for any of the people in here who really love to study math. We either need more inputs or less outputs, right? And we can solve that. So they can do the math around that one. How are they going to solve Medicare? That one is an enormous problem.
No question. Thank you, Mason. Any other questions? We have time for one more. Yes. Thanks, Evan.
So when looking into internships, you'll see at a lot of the bigger companies, you'll hear that it's basically a sales job for insurance or what have you. And I was wondering how an internship would look at your guys' respective companies.
Well, while we're hitting that question, I want to ask, are you hiring? Let's end it on this question. Are you hiring? And then also address the intern question. So if you could address both parts, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Merissa, you can start.
I'll start. Like I mentioned, I was the first financial planning intern at Johnson Financial Group, and I have been since the captain for that program. And so I was the guinea pig, and I was really able to showcase what I needed as a growth opportunity. And so really, the internship is based off of you're diving into that software, you're learning a lot about it up front. So it's a lot of videos and learning up front. However, then you get to sit in client meetings and be able to understand how that client meeting relates back to that software and how you use that. And you also just get to learn about the other positions within Johnson Financial Group. I always make sure to set up meetings, the first couple weeks of the internship with different roles within Johnson, because even if financial planning isn't the way to go, as long as the internship helps you figure out your passion, that's what we strive for at Johnson. So with that, our internships are open. We have 15 this year between Madison, Milwaukee, and Racine. We will be at the career fair. I will be there as well on Wednesday. So if you like more packets of the descriptions of them, you can come see us, or if you just want something brief, please talk to me after.
Merissa, you're also hiring full-time, correct?
Yeah, of course.
Yep, excellent. Mark, why don't we go here and then we'll work our way down.
We are hiring full-time as well. I feel like we are never not hiring. It's amazing. The need for growth and talent is just constant. Internships are integral to Annex. I was an intern many, many years ago. It's how I ended up in this industry, which is an amazing story in itself. But interns at Annex will have different focuses. They may be analytical data-oriented folks. They're going to have a project potentially, but they're not sales-oriented internships by any means. And we do, I think, a really great job. It's a lot of fun. It's near and dear to my heart, obviously, because I came through that pathway. So we do leadership luncheons for our interns all summer long. I actually spend some time with the whole group of them, throughout the summer, so that, I can provide some mentorship, and those kinds of things. So look for those opportunities. I understand what you mean by the organizations that focus their internships around your ability to bring new business to that firm. There is nothing wrong with that. You will learn a lot in terms of communication skills in that type of internship, so don't downplay it. But if what you're looking for is something that is more intellectually focused, because you're pursuing a path that might be more analyst, financial planner, wealth manager space, you might look at something different as well. I will also kind of finish with one other piece of advice because it fits well with that conversation about the internship and the sales aspect. At Annex, like the concept of sales is sort of a dirty word. However, I will tell you that you are at the heart, always and everywhere, in every industry you go, a salesperson. You must learn great communication skills and the ability to listen effectively, which is at the heart of being a great salesperson. So learn those people skills also.
Yeah, and really selling, Mark, wouldn't you agree? You're solving problems. You're seeing if you can solve problems. And
You're
add
connecting with
value.
people, you're solving problems, and you're delivering value.
No question. Thank you for that. Sean, what would you say for your firm? Internships and full-time, or Matt, whoever you want to respond.
Yeah, I'll start. So to answer your question directly, if I miss it, let me know. But I started as an intern, like Mark kind of said he did in Annex. But the thing I wanted to know is I wanted to try to figure out what I want to do before I started making money. Because if in your first 5 years you make 5 career changes, you're missing out on a lot of potential for your career. And especially in this field, when you flip firms every single time, you are seeing 100, 200 different faces every single time. So I wanted to iron out the details on what I really wanted to do prior to when I graduated. So I started looking for an internship. One of the things that almost did scare me away from the field was the idea of talking to all your friends and family and trying them to be, the reason if you're successful or not. So when I met with Sean, I found out that wasn't something that Sky's Edge Wealth internship there required. So I was very, very interested. The other big caveat was that I wanted to be in client meetings because I wanted to know what is the day-to-day like. At the end of the day, my whole career, I don't want to be 45, 50 years old crunching numbers behind a computer all day, every day. My dad was an accountant. That's what he did. I saw the stress he went through, not what I want to do. I like talking to people. I wanted to be in client meetings. So I asked Sean, is that something that's possible? He's like, absolutely. First day I was at the firm, before I even met the whole team, I was meeting clients. So those are the kind of things. So to answer your question, there are many internships out there that are sales related. There are also many that are not. So continue to look, be picky on what you want, right? Don't take the first opportunity. But again, I think Mark said it as well. You're always selling yourself. No matter who you're talking to, you're selling yourself. It might not be right now, it might be in 10 years. You're selling who you are, even as a person.
Even as a student in class.
So I know that's kind of a
Absolutely.
tangent, but at the end of the day, one of the biggest recommendations I can have is get an internship, get real world experience before it quite honestly matters. Understand what you want to do, and if possible, find a mentor. So the man next to me, I'm so thankful for. I probably will never be able to repay him for what he's done for me, but he's given me incredible opportunities. And at the end of the day, it is truly hard to find someone that wants to invest as much as you're going to invest in the firm. But if that's possible, try to just understand the relationships you're building with who you're working with and see if they can be kind of just a mentor to you and someone to teach you the ropes.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, the thing I'll add is just bring my experience to that. So I did an internship at Northwestern Mutual Life. I got licensed in life and health. It was a pure sales. This is a long time ago. I won't say the number. It was pure sales. I don't know what they're doing today with their program. And that's okay. I knew what I was getting into. Like Mark said, I learned a lot. You get put on the spot, communication. It wasn't so much of the education side of things. Then I did an internship at Merrill Lynch in Brookfield. So I got to see another whole side of it, purely investments only. So insurance heavy, investments heavy. But what I did is instead of spending, like Matt said, 3 to 5 years at 2 different companies, I've spent my entire career at Ameriprise of 25 years, which is really not normal in this industry. You'll see usually in 25 years at least 3 stops, if you will. So my message around that is get an internship. And if it's not, you don't have to have an expectation that's where you're going to be long term. It can be just as powerful finding out what you don't want to do. And any good employer is going to understand that. We get that. There's no expectation that you do an internship, you're going to come on. If it works out, like it did with Matt, we have a gentleman at UW-Madison right now that I believe will be coming on full-time when he graduates. That's 2 out of 15, maybe 20, 25.
And you're hiring full-time and interns, okay?
Yep.
Excellent. Kyra, and then Bennett, anything you want to add?
Yeah, so I'll just echo, I think getting an internship is a great opportunity to learn what you do like, what you don't like. The internships that I've had, I just used as a learning opportunity to ask questions, start getting familiar with just financial planning softwares and systems. They're not going to be exactly the same firm to firm, but there's going to be a lot of overlap in. You're going to have CRM, you're going to have financial planning tools, everything like that. Savant is hiring internships, and I think there's a few associate positions open at various locations. Savant also has I think we have tax internships, financial planning, which is more the number crunching financial planning strictly, and then more financial advisory internships as well. So kind of more like what Bennett and I see day to day of the financial planning, but also interacting with clients. So we have QR codes up here if anybody's interested in seeing more specifics about the locations and the different opportunities.
I also have Kelly's cards that I said Bennett would hand out. Bennett, what would you add?
Not too much. I mean, I know we're running a little late on time here, and everyone's had phenomenal answers. I guess the only thing I will really add is any internship is good experience. It's just important to find out something you don't want to do as finding something you do want to do. Going back to your question too, is we at Savant, during our internships and even our roles, have no sales expectations at all. We're there to be a sponge, absorb as much information as possible, real world studying, passing different exams, a Series 65, studying for the CFP. That's more the focus at our firm is education. But again, as it was said down here, if you find yourself in one of those more sales heavy roles, I mean, you have to be very good at communicating in our industry. You have to be able to connect with people. So that's also a skill that would not be the worst thing to work on.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So Bennett was here a year ago as a student, and now look where you are, Bennett. It's pretty cool. Can we give them a round of applause, please? Thank you.